Welcome to our Week 3 review episode here at Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. We're going to be breaking down everything that happened in Week 3 across the NFL. We'll take a look at 6 key games. We'll check in on our Against the Spread Picks competition, our FourFold challenge. We'll see how our bets have gone on. And we'll also have a look at the Fantasy Game Day winning lineup of the week. And just while we're on that, thanks very much again to the guys at the Fantasy Game Day app. So we started a partnership with them last week. The Daily Fantasy app, made by British fans for British fans. The app has launched for the 2023 season and offers a tailored experience for UK NFL enthusiasts. Join the Fantasy Game Day community and let's revolutionise the way we play NFL Daily Fantasy this side of the pond. Must be 18 or over to enter. Only available in the UK, including Northern Ireland. Please gamble responsibly. Joe, Byron, you're joining me as usual. How are you both doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Week 3's gone. Feels a bit, moving along pretty fast, to be honest. It's like, oh, geez. But we are here where we are. So, yeah, it was all good this weekend.
It's too quick, moving far too quick. I can't believe we're getting we're nearly 20% of the way through, or nearly a quarter of the way through the season, almost, of the regular season. It's going a bit too quick.
How long ago did the off season?
Sorry?
Draft field. How long ago did the off season draft field now?
Oh, yeah. A long time ago, doesn't it? It feels, yeah. I mean, we were doing a lot of filler, weren't we? To be fair, before the season started, and now we're just churning out 2 episodes a week.
Yeah.
So yeah, not filler, great entertainment and content for the people.
Well, I mean, described as filler at the time.
Yeah, nah, definitely not. Didn't sell it as that. Let's get into week 2 then. We've week 2, week 3. I wish it was week 2. I wish we'd gone back a week, but we're in week 3. About to be week 4. But we'll start with the Indianapolis Colts and Ravens. Colts won this one on overtime, 22-19 on the road in Baltimore. And it was a game, I don't know how you chaps felt, that it felt that nobody wanted to win, especially kind of in that fourth quarter and into overtime. Yeah, it was a bit of a crazy nobody wants the ball game. What did you make of it, especially down the stretch?
About my frozen, so I'll go ahead.
I think that's probably a fair assessment.
So I'll go ahead. Why not? Yes. So I think it's a fair assessment. I think the Colts, with obviously Anthony Richardson being down, going in with Minshew is probably the kind of game they wanted, the kind of game that way where they got the victory, where it wasn't going to be, points galore. I thought, like I said, both teams didn't really fancy at the end. I think Baltimore let it slip. I thought they had a good opportunity to go 3-0 up, and I think they'll be more disappointed. Just the fact, and I know the weather played a part, but I just felt like they just took a step back. And I wonder if all these injuries they are starting to accumulate are starting to take a slight effect. Because, good opportunity. Obviously, Tucker missing the field goal at the end, and Gay showing why I think he's the highest paid kicker, showing why that is. And I thought it was a good win for the Colts, so a 2-1, which is a bit surprising. I don't think many people expected that at the start of the year, and started well.
Yeah, I think so. Matt Gay, he hit 4 field goals over 50 yards. The first time that's happened, including the 53-yarder in overtime to win the game. Just get that the 61-yarder for Tuck that Tuck had at the end of the fourth quarter. I thought it was over watching it. I was watching it on Red Zone. It looked like it was sailing over, but fell just agonisingly short. It felt like Baltimore did a lot of work to lose. I think they were very, very careless at times, and it just felt one where, especially like when they got the safety with about 2 minutes to go, didn't think there was any way that they were going to give the ball back at that point. And that sequence of plays for when they get the safety and they get the ball back with, I think it's 2:15. They go 4 plays for -1 yard. I know Colts use the timeouts, but you need one first down to win the game, I think. And you just can't find a way to do it, and it was just an odd ending, and the most bizarre period of overtime I think I've watched. Byron, I think you're back with us after kind of cutting out a bit. What did you make of it, especially the overtime?
Yeah, sorry, it keeps lagging, but I think Lamar Jackson had a real good start to the game, but I think as Gus Bradley kind of dialed up the blitz more in the fourth quarter, and especially in overtime, it seemed to. I know Ravens fans are, social media crying about the pass interference on Zay Flowers on fourth down in overtime, which it should have been called, but you can't call that for why you lost to the Colts, who are, I think, not as talented a team as the Ravens, and I know the Ravens have got injuries, etc. But you should be finding a way to win that game. I don't think it's really the kind of loss you expect the Ravens to have with how good of a coach Jim Harbaugh is. You have Lamar Jackson, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. It shouldn't come down to a fourth and you want a pass interference call on that you don't get. So I felt that was kind of sloppy. I don't think good for the Colts. They got a win where I don't think they really deserved one. But like I said, the defense stepped up in the second half, and yeah, you get the wins where you can get them. I think Anthony Richardson will be back next week, and they're a much better team with Anthony Richardson. Gardner Minshew done about as much as you might hope he can. I don't think he was spectacular by any means, but he was solid. He didn't give the game away. And, you have a back quarterback, and that's what you hope you get from them.
Yeah. I think you're spot on there. I don't think it's the last we'll see of Gardner Minshew the way Anthony Richardson plays. I think I don't think there's something that tells me he's just not going to learn his lesson a little bit around. He's got banged up week 1, out the game early in week 2, having to miss week 3, and something just tells me I think we'll see a lot more of Gardner Minshew throughout the rest of the season, starting for the Colts. The overtime period that kind of we discussed, just to run through this, and I'll try and not replay sheets out and play summaries, but it was just, I think it's just the worst overtime period I've seen and the oddest overtime period I've seen, just the way it fell out. Colts had the ball, 5 plays, 4 yards, punt the ball. The Ravens get it, 4 plays, 4 yards, punt the ball. Colts move it a bit, 6 plays, 43 yards, get to midfield, turnover on downs. Ravens, 4 plays, 7 yards, turnover on downs. And it just took the Colts to break really 1 13-yard run from Moss to kind of get them into field goal position for that 53-yard winner from Matt Gable. Just a bizarre series through overtime. Where are we sat on these two teams? I mean, do we think that the Colts can keep going, or do we think they're going to kind of come crashing down a little bit now?
I think with the Colts, I think what surprised me is, but the defense has been a lot better than I anticipated, especially the front 7. I think they dominated this game. So, if you got a good defense and you've got Anthony Richardson come back, who it feels like he's a splash kind of quarterback, where he's going to get them a few touchdowns a game. So, I still think they're going to be middle of the pack. I don't think they're going to push for the playoffs or anything. But coming into this season, I think if you see the first 2 games, there was promise from Anthony Richardson if he can stay on the field. And I think as long as that carries on for the rest of the year where he's showing promise and he's looking good, then you got to be excited. I think with the Ravens, I think like I said, they had a lot of players who were playing who didn't even make the first 53-man squad. So it is worrying that they're starting to lose players, and I think a few more went out. I don't know if there was any major injuries, but it's concerning, especially with the up and down offense. Especially, I think I saw that Lamar Jackson only had 1 throw over 10 yards, which is a bit worrying. Again, is that to do with the Colts defense or the weather, but still a bit inconsistent with being in the AFC. I think they're going to be thereabouts in the playoffs. I think they're going to be challenging all the AFC teams, but I don't think it's going to be as clear-cut as they would like it to be, especially with how some of the results have gone this weekend.
It was an opportunity to put some real pressure on Bengals on Monday, I think. To go 3-0, they didn't. Obviously, we'll discuss the rest of the AFC North teams won, but I don't know. It didn't look good, and maybe it's just the injuries catching up with them and just the kind of the drop off. Lamar, incidentally, I believe this is right, and somebody needs to stat check me. I do try and fact check and stat check myself, but first player in NFL history to go for 200 yards passing, 100 yards rushing, and two rushing touchdowns in a game. I believe. A little bit of history there. But yeah, Byron, final word on the Ravens?
I think certainly, I tipped them at plus 100 last week to win the division. But yeah, this was maybe a bit of an awakening game. And the schedule coming up is not great, certainly against defense. They've got the Browns, the Steelers, the Titans next, and then the Lions. Lions, obviously, defense not as good, but that's 3 tough defenses to play in a row. And just talking on the optimism for the Colts, I had them, I think, under 6.5 to start the season. That's gone, I don't think. Just with how well they've played, never mind the fact they have 2 wins. But, their upcoming schedule, when do you look at them and go, well, they're huge underdogs there? They've got the Rams on Sunday, Titans, Jags, maybe, Browns, maybe, Saints, Panthers, Patriots, Bucks, Titans again. From where I thought they were going into the season, Shane Steichen deserves a lot of credit for getting this offense, more than competent to start off immediately. With how raw Anthony Richardson was, how volatile Gardner Minshew can be if you had to play. No Jonathan Taylor. So Zach Moss is a work-down running back. Work-down? Is that an expression? Bell cow running back? Workhorse running back. He's a workhorse. He's a bell cow and he's a workhorse, yeah. It's most of the farm. But yeah, a lot of credit for Shane Steichen, what he's doing immediately with Indianapolis. In a division that's looking more winnable with how Jacksonville have started, I think a ton of credit to Indianapolis.
Yeah, I'm looking back, I think we all were shouting out that Jacksonville are going to run away with that division. That might have been the case later on in the season, but it's certainly not looking that way in terms of kind of how they've started. So, yeah, probably, bit of a big win for Indy to go to have a winning record, and yeah, just kind of try and put a bit of distance between them and I suppose Jacksonville while they're struggling. We'll move on. That's Colts Ravens done. We'll move on to our second game, which was a history-making game, and for all the wrong reasons. If you are a fan of the Denver Broncos, or if you're Sean Payton, rancid day at the office. The Miami Dolphins 70. That's right, 70. Denver Broncos 20. First of all, how does a team in the NFL, modern NFL, score 70 points?
Go up against a terrible, terrible defense and have the fastest offense in NFL history? ? But yeah, pure speedsters playing whatever heat it was in that Broncos defense for having names and coming into the season relatively highly touted. They look like a college defense right now. They look like, Deion Sanders' defense on Saturday. It is a shambles.
Worrying for me, I think, if I'm just looking at it through a Denver lens, is quite early on in that game, especially from a defensive perspective, it looked like players had given up.
Yeah, early.
Token efforts, horrendous tackling efforts as well. It was just all the hallmarks of a team that had just given up, and I don't think you can do that in the NFL, no matter how badly you're getting beaten, because I think once you do that, it's very difficult to recover from that. You can't just pick it back up and turn it back on. It is a defense that has been good for a long time in Denver, but it just all seems to be unraveling at the minute. Kind of saw it last week in the Commanders game. Yeah. Especially with the way the Commanders came back on them, and then it just seems to just all went to shit in Miami on Sunday. Is there any hope for the Denver Broncos? They're 0-3. Sean Payton needed a fast start, and it wouldn't necessarily be to win this game. The other 2 games with the teams that they played, competitive, but, you needed to get a win in there. Where did the Denver Broncos go?
I think, like you said, with that defense, I think it was showing like a stat. Someone put it on there, but it was like on all the dropbacks, and most of them didn't get any pressure, like no sacks, no QB throwaways, no hurries. They didn't get anything. It is worrying because I think, it could have been one of Wilson's best games, which is not something to shout about. But even like the offense is stumbling, I know Sutton got 2 touchdowns, but he's fumbling, and there's not many bright spots on that side as well. I've already seen the on the Denver website calling for Vance Joseph to be sacked and trying to tank for Caleb Williams, like how bad the season's going. I know they've got the Bears next week, which should be a fun game to watch, the Caleb Williams game, it seems like at the minute. Yeah, not much hope to it, because it feels like they don't do anything good at all. And I think that's the worrying thing, that they haven't got one point you're like, oh, that's where they can keep the hand. It feels like they're just not good at everything.
Will Lutz is good. Yeah. Will Lutz is a good kicker.
Yeah, and Mims is looking a good kick returner. But other than that, so the special teams, there you go. That's what they can hang their hat on. But no, it's just worrying. I think. Go on, babe.
Sorry, I was just saying, Mims is looking good on offense. They just don't feature him. I do not understand it. He's the only player making a difference on offense, and it's like, well, let's throw in the ball twice a game. Like, I don't know, maybe just throw the ball constantly to him because no one else is doing jack.
I think he's got 4 of the 5 longest plays from scrimmage to start the season, and they're all Marvin Mims, and that kickoff returns obviously one of them.
Yeah, and I was very down on the Broncos obviously coming into the season. I was very down on Russell Wilson. Credit to Russell Wilson, he's looking all right. He's not looking like old Russell Wilson, but his stats are pretty comparable to Patrick Mahomes coming out of week 3. They're both playing, pretty okay. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes playing a little below what we expect, especially after including the Thursday night opener. Russell Wilson performing ahead of what I thought he would be. Obviously, he's not an elite quarterback anymore, but I don't think he's issue. I think it's coaching. I think, like you said, it'll be early. And it looks like the season is now 3 weeks into Sean Payton going to sort everything out, give him a first-round pick for this guy. Hey, we might get Caleb Williams next year. That's insanity to me. And I think Vance Joseph, I don't know if Vance Joseph will make the year, because I think Sean Payton needs a scapegoat and he needs it early.
I think probably one more bad defensive performance and Vance Joseph might go. I saw, and again, so apologies not giving credit, but I saw a great tweet around the Denver Broncos had given up a first round pick, and I think it's a second, isn't it, for Sean Payton to get beat by 50 by a ball boy that used to work for them.
Who they wouldn't interview for head coach.
Yeah.
And Mike McDaniel, I mean, we can slag off. I will gladly slag off the Broncos every week. My word, Mike McDaniel is he not the best coach in the league right now? Anything he touches turns to a touchdown. Unbelievable performance. Like, they are just, I know, Broncos gave up on it. They're running the same play out with every different look and getting 20 yards on it. It is incredible to watch.
Yeah, I think what's crazy
about Jalen Waddle.
I was just about to say that. That's crazy. Jalen Waddle not even playing, which is nuts.
It's insanity.
I think it helps getting Armstead back as well. That offensive line's looked better than, again, I expected. I think they've only given 1 sack away this year. And just, it was like, I think like the first 10 possessions got 9 touchdowns. It's crazy.
On that note about Armstead, sorry, Maggie, I'm freezing here, so I end up interrupting. I apologise. Tua has the quickest throw time in the NFL from snap to throw, and the best average depth of target. Those two things shouldn't correlate.
They don't match.
If you're throwing it quick, you should be throwing it short. If you're throwing it deep, you should be holding it a long time. That offense is so beautifully schemed, and it really helps when you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. But they went out and got those players. They build the offense around the players they have. It is an incredible job. And having a great O-line help. They still have Jalen Ramsey to come back as well on defense.
Yeah, so we're expecting him later towards the back end of the year on defense. Yeah, I think we talked about probably that key in the preseason or whenever we did the feature on the AFC East is, the keys to protect Tua, and they really are protecting Tua, to your point, Joe. Only 1 sack given up so far through 3 weeks, while still kind of running this real explosive offense. I mean, there's probably too many to pick out, but I suppose the keys Tua had another fantastic game. It was 16 for 16 and over 200 yards in the first half, and up 23 of 26 for 309 and 4 touchdowns. Mostert ran for 3 touchdowns. I can't say his name. Akane. I heard it a lot in Red Zone.
Akane, I believe he wants to be. I think everyone's calling him A-Chain going into the week, but apparently he wants to be A-Kane.
A-Kane, cool. 203 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill, 9 grabs, 157 yards and a touchdown. And just touchdowns everywhere else. A-Kane got another 2 receiving touchdowns. It was just nuts. Congratulations if you had any of those players in your fantasy lineup this week. Commiserations if you went up against any of them. Yeah.
Might see them in the fantasy game day winning review, I imagine.
Yes, we'll come on to that.
And just one last note I had on Marvin Mims' inexplicable lack of usage from Jacob Gibbs at CBS. Marvin Mims, through 3 games, has run 27 routes and got 195 receiving yards. The close was 89 yards. He's run 107 routes. So Mims has more yards and has run 80 fewer routes. Maybe throw him some more routes.
Get him the ball, yeah. Give
stagger him.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I mean, on and not to get too far ahead because this is the review episode, not the preview. But there is a very, very mouth-watering clash coming up on Sunday. How we have Chiefs Jets on Sunday Night Football, and this is stuck in the 1 o'clock slate, in the 1 o'clock group of games. We've got Dolphins. You thought I was going to say Broncos Bears. I'm not saying that. It's Dolphins Bills. What a huge game that is, and what a great game that's going to be on Sunday with kind of how we're set up now.
Yeah, I know they don't like to change the Sunday night games this early in the season, but man, I've cried out for it. As soon as Rodgers went down, just get the Jets out of prime time.
Yeah, I mean they'll be able to start doing it soon. So I think we have to suffer through this one, Chiefs Jets. I think there's one more Jets primetime game we have to suffer through that can't be changed, and then the 2 at the back end I think can be, and I would assume will be changed. Not to get too far ahead, but that line, Miami Dolphins are 2.5 point underdogs going into that game at Buffalo. I bet that's going to change as we get to Sunday.
And just on the future week lines, the Broncos lost by 50 points, and they have 3-point favorites for next week. That is the tail. We talk about the Bears today, maybe, hopefully. But imagine giving up 70 points, and they're going on the road again. It's in Soldier Field next week, and they have 3-point favorites. How bad are the Bears?
Yeah.
Well, we don't have to talk about it, but like that is how bad the Bears are, not how bad are the Bears.
Yeah. That is wild. I'm sure we will touch on. Are we going to talk more about the Bears or Taylor Swift later? I don't know. Right, we'll get to it at some point anyway. Anything else on Broncos Dolphins before we take? Oh, why didn't? Sorry, one last bit. They have the chance to kick the field goal to break the regular season points scored record. Why did they not do it?
Because he's not Sean Payton, probably.
Because he's not Sean Payton. I kind of wonder, is there a bit of like killing with kindness? Because if he breaks the record, he breaks the record. But now he has to explain, like, well, I'm not really interested, And I think it almost gets more discussion.
I just feel you're not probably going to get the chance to do that again, are you? I know they're good, but you're not going to, did the Dolphins have to play the Bears?
I don't know. I don't think so.
That might be the
one last
actual
last note I had on all these miraculous Miami stats. Devin A-Kane didn't play week 1. He didn't really do anything week 2. He is the running back 4 in fantasy standard scoring on the season, obviously.
Did it total something over 50 points in most standard scoring leagues? I think
he got over 50 now.
Yeah, which is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
50.3 points.
Commiserations if you have to face him in fantasy. I got lucky and didn't have to face any of them this week. Thank God.
Well, I think A-Kane was on most people's benches because he hasn't done anything through 2 weeks. So.
Yeah, wild. Imagine missing out on that.
I did miss out on that. I have him on it. In one of my leagues, I have him on a taxi squad. So he's not even on my bench. He's getting elevated this week.
He's getting elevated this week. Where he gets 4 touches.
He's showing he belongs at the level.
Yeah. Let's move on from the record-breaking Miami Dolphins. A similar game to the first one we talked about, I think, this one. Chargers, Vikings. Also a game that nobody really wanted to win. Very much like the Colts Ravens. Again, the fourth quarter of this one was crazy. It kind of exploded in the second half, this one. It felt like this game exploded in the second half. Luckily, we held on for an under that got very close. Oh, I did. Held on for an under that got very, very close. But yeah, I mean, 28-24 to the Chargers. The Vikings had a couple of opportunities to win it. Of course, it ended in a turnover in the end zone, as it does for poor Kirk.
And not even just a turnover. Like it was so hurried for no reason. Just spike the ball. Get yourself 2 plays. It's awful. Just so much time got sucked out of the game, and it was just meaningless.
Because it was crazy. Because I think the excuse was he couldn't hear the play or couldn't hear anything. But you think you've been in the league for 11 years now. Just run up, spike it, and then and then you can hear the play. You've got plenty of time to do that. It just feels like a typical Kirk Cousins game when he's under pressure and everything's going crazy. That's when he becomes Kirk Cousins. That's where he's not that elite. If he had that, he could possibly be an elite quarterback. So he's got the tools, and he puts up big numbers, but it's just little things like that. It's just like that's why you're in the Kirk Cousins zone, because you can't just think, let's spike it, let's reset, rather than quickly not hearing a play, making his own play and just like forcing it in there and just losing the game. But it just felt like a game it was just made for Chargers and Vikings. It just describes both of these teams. It's like, that's who they are. I think I saw like a video from a Vikings fan saying the touchdown what the Chargers got at the end, where the defender, he was there to be intercepted. He went through his hands, bounced off his hands, and landed in the Josh Palmer's hands. And he was like, one play to describe how being a Vikings fan is, and it's that one. The fact it was there to win it, and it just bounced off his hands. And he's not just bounced off his hands and just, hit the turf. It bounces straight into the opposition's hands. It's just beautiful.
Yeah. And is this the thing we talked about, obviously, again, look, the Vikings have this unbelievable, and it was unbelievable, record of being 11-0 in these one-score games last year. They're 0-3 on the season. That 0-3 in these, all three have been one-score games that they've come on the wrong side of. Especially the Philadelphia game, they couldn't get out their own way. This one, it feels like very similar around the opportunities were there for them to win the game, and they just couldn't get it done. Which might be a bit harsh, taking away because the Chargers, particularly on offense, did play well, but it just feels like this game was there to be won for Minnesota. What do you do for Minnesota? Kirk Cousins is probably going to leave at the end of the season. Is there a bit where, do you shop him to the Jets and try and get a second-round pick for him or something?
I think in theory that makes sense, but I think in reality it probably doesn't, because I think it's just kind of the white flag you wave at the rest of the organization. Justin Jefferson's on way over here. Even if it's just numbers that he's going for rather than wins, like he doesn't want to waste that. And he needs to sign a new long-term deal. I think, if you get rid of Kirk Cousins, who you're trotting out the quarterback the rest of the year, like there has to be a base level of competence. And I don't think you can sell to players like, well, we're going to try and get Caleb Williams, or we're going to try and get, Drake May next year. Like, it's going to get better. Players don't want to hear it. Like, as much as the reality of it, playing fantasy GM is like tank and things will get better next year. I think giving up Kirk Cousins now, especially like what are you going to get for basically 14 weeks of Kirk Cousins or 13 games of Kirk Cousins at this point? You're not getting a first round pick for that, surely, because the Jets also probably think Aaron Rodgers is coming back, and Aaron Rodgers doesn't want a good quarterback in the building with him. I think it's a really tough scenario to try and think of a good way out of it. I think if the Vikings get a first round pick for Kirk Cousins, as much as I'm saying in reality you don't want to do it, I think they would snap your hands off it if they got offered a first. But if they don't get offered a first, or kind of explain to the locker room why you've done it, especially when you've only lost 3 one-score games, like you say, it's not like they haven't just lost by 50 points.
Yeah, and I think like if you do give it to Jets for a second rounder, like the Jets have got a really good team except the quarterback. So is it even going to be a high second round pick if you do trade him now? So I think it is tricky. And you know, I can easily see end of the year they're just re-signing for another year because, you know, what else are you going to get if they get a high draft pick? Yeah, get rid of, maybe get a new quarterback, start young. But if they finish like middle of the pack and they've got, you know, pick 13, 14, are they going to get a better quarterback in the draft, better than Kirk Cousins? When you've got like you said, when you got Jefferson, you got some high-end players who are not just wanting to start again, who are going to be unhappy. So I've got a feeling. I think it's going to be a couple of more weeks. I'm not quite sure when the trade deadline is, but I think if they all win, 4 or 5, possibly that'll be more. But I think if it only takes 1 or 2 wins and they're back to 2 and 3, and you're like, oh, this season's back again. I just think, but I think you're right. Going back to your earlier point, Paul, that it was there for them to win. It feels like they had a lot of opportunities in the red zone. I think they went 1 and 4. Obviously, the series before, even getting the ball back at the end, they were whether the 1 yard line or 2 yard line, and didn't manage to punch it in. And that's been a bit of disappointment with Mattis, and everyone just thought, he's just going to take over from Dalvin Cook, and he's going to be an NFL quality starting running back, and he hasn't really worked out. And a bit surprising they just didn't just go throw it to Jefferson for all 4 plays, let your best player win it, basically. I'm curious what you thought Staley's decision with the 4th down. Was it on 20 yard, 26, 7-yard line to go for it? I think that says more about his defense, that you're winning by 4. So if you punt it, you only have to stop them getting a touchdown. So it's like you've got no confidence in your defense whatsoever.
Yeah, he sent a bad message. Oh, sorry, Byron. Go on, you go first.
I think it's maybe Brandon Staley playing 4D chess, and he knows Kirk Cousins in the red zone immediately is going to frazzle. If Kirk can just throw it from deep and work his way downfield, he might get himself in rhythm. He might get comfortable. He might forget the stakes. If he gets in the end zone to throw it in the end zone to win, or in the red zone to throw it to win, he knows he's going to melt down. I'm giving Brandon Staley too much credit.
It just reminded me of Brandon Staley's first season, where he just went for 4 down every time. He just went for it on 4th down every time. Every 4th down they went for it, and it just seemed. And I get offensively they had, offensively they were going well. It's probably the best performance of the season so far. But I think it was a ludicrous decision, and especially if you lose the game from there, if the Vikings go in and score and win the game. It's a ludicrous decision. All decision, you can look at all decisions like that with hindsight, can't you? But I just think a ridiculous position to put your defense in. Luckily, luckily they came up trumps.
The part that bugs me most, though, sorry, these lads are killing me. I sound really rude interrupting. It kills me though. It's 4th and 1. Just get Keenan Allen on an option route.
I was going to say that their rushing with Eckler being out has been horrendous. They went 200 yards the first game against Dolphins, and I think even this game they went 30 yards from 15 carries, and you're trusting your running back to get a yard. You just think, who's your best player? Herbert. Allen's been absolutely.
I can understand the ball, and you think, yep. Exactly. Even if you just have it on an option. Even let Herbert hand it to Kelly if there's an easy yard to gain. But just put it in Justin Herbert's hands. Get Keenan Allen on an easy option route. Josh Kelly, he had 10 carries for 11 yards. I think he finished for 11, or 10 for 11 maybe, or 10 for 12. He finished 11 for 12. That's where you're going on that play. I don't hate the gutsiness of the call. Because if he pulls it off in the game and it's all, at a point you've got to defend, and Paul saying, that's really an indictment on your defense that you're wanting to do this. But I don't get those kind of play calls where just go with what's working. Justin Herbert has been incredible all game. I did have some quick stuff about Justin Herbert, and we talked about the Vikings defense being a bit low on talent in the offseason. Brian Flores is going to make up for it by blitzing. The Vikings have blitzed at a pretty good rate throughout the start of the season. They blitzed 54.3 Baker Mayfield in week 1, Jalen Hurts in week 2. They blitzed Justin Herbert at 81.6% on Sunday. It was just blitz all game, essentially. Justin Herbert went 32-38 on the blitz, 301 yards, 3 touchdowns. Each of those is the best ever recorded in ESPN since 2006, since they tracked blitz rates. Justin Herbert's previous rate of facing blitz was 51.4%. I think that was against the Vikings as well last year. And it was 81.6 on Sunday. Absolutely shone. Just incredible performance. And Keenan Allen even took a touchdown off him.
He did. Can I just say that might be the best bit of analysis we've ever had on this show as well, by the way. That was brilliant, Byron. Thank you for that. But yes, Keenan Allen was a particular superstar in the game, wasn't he? He did everything. Passing touchdown, no problem. He completed his one pass attempt for 49 yards and a touchdown. 18 receptions and 215 yards. 80 receptions on 20 targets as well.
I think he might be in the game also, right?
Yeah, he's definitely in the game. And look, we know it because of the way that happens. We don't know who it was, and we won't find the name. But what an inspired decision for him for the captain's pick. You double points, and we'll come on to the fantasy game day stuff later. But yeah, Keenan Allen. Somebody suggested we take Keenan Allen out of our team, didn't they? No,
I can't remember who that was now. So I'm lagging a bit here.
All right. Yeah, great game though. It was a great game.
I heard of.
All right, great game in the early slate. Both teams doing again. Almost everything they can do to lose, and the Chargers holding on. It feels like the Chargers might get going now and start rolling, but it feels like Minnesota are in a very very dark place after week 3. Any more for Chargers Vikings before we move on?
I was just going to say it feels very Chargers that the win and Mike Williams is out for the year.
Yes, it's on ACL, wasn't it?
It's on ACL. And obviously JC Jackson being a healthy scratch as well. It's a bit like, you paid him all that money and, he's on the side. I know those reports that Panthers arrest warrant out for like a $600 speeding fine, but I don't think that would have kept him out of the lineup, just a speeding fine, to be honest. So it is worrying that you paid him all that money and can't get in the team.
There's a warrant out from in Massachusetts, which I guess was at the time before he moved. But yeah.
Which worrying he's inactive and also worrying that he can't afford to pay his speeding ticket.
It is just what you don't want, because I thought we'd see some improvement. I thought it was a strong part of the team, the defense, particularly the secondary. And it seems to actually be a massive weakness for the Chargers. Yeah.
And I think Derwin James went out as well with a hamstring. So, your main guy. It just so Chargers.
Who misses more games for injury, Derwin James or Mike Williams? And I love them both, but my word. Every season.
It is. It's without fail. I mean, the medical staff, have they been fired? What's going on? Physios probably need to be. Right, we'll move on. I don't particularly want to talk about this next game, to be honest with you. It's the Dallas Cowboys at the Arizona Cardinals. Dallas Cowboys were, at one point, they were 13-point favorites. Lost the game 28-16. Let's start with the Cardinals before I'm sure, Byron, you've got a lot to say about the Cowboys as well. But let's give some credit where credit is due. The Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals are playing well, despite tanking for Caleb Williams potentially, all that jazz. Josh Dobbs came in the building a month ago. The Cardinals are playing well. That offensive line really been really good through 3 weeks. It was especially good on Sunday against the Cowboys. They were able to kind of just nullify at times that Dallas defensive front, which has been lauded these early weeks of the season. James Conner ran the ball really well. Josh Dobbs made plays when he had to. And that Cardinals secondary also really, really good. I thought they played very, very well, and I thought they were really, really good. From a Cardinals perspective first, what did you make of the Arizona Cardinals in that game against Dallas?
I saw a recent fact that apparently they've won 6 out of the last 7 against the Cowboys. So why we're surprised that they've did it again. But I think, like you said, it's one of the things, like what made Cardinals good, you could flip it around. But it feels like they had a lot of big plays, which like sucker punched Cowboys. I think the Cowboys had a lot more of the possession and a lot more plays than the Cardinals. But what the Cardinals did, like they hit home runs, either through the air or on the ground. And I think they just stacked up the points. And the Cowboys couldn't do what the Giants did. And couldn't crawl the way back and keep it, start scoring big plays. I think they just took too long. And I'm guessing you're going to come on to the red zone inefficiency of the Cowboys. And I think that was a big difference, to be honest, that the Cowboys couldn't punch it in at the end and get them points up. And that's why they couldn't match the Giants from last week.
Yeah, Byron, I'll let you have your say on. We'll move on to Dallas. Well, actually, give us your take on the Cardinals, and then you can have first take on Dallas in this game.
Yeah, I mean, massive shout out to Cardinals. They're playing really well. They've been coached really well. They're disciplined. James Conner is looking like one of the best running backs in the league. He's hitting exactly what he can get, and he's taking everything that he can get with it. I love seeing Rondale Moore getting carries.
Apologies, everybody that's tuning in, listening. If you're listening on Spotify or watching on the YouTube, we were just facing a few technical glitches there and had to stop our recording. But we are back. Hopefully, I've gone and done a really good job of the editing, so it feels really seamless. I guess we'll see. We were in the middle of talking about the Cowboys getting beat out west in Arizona against the Cardinals. 28-16. Byron, I think we were with you just talking through about the Cardinals before we were both going to sound off about how atrocious the Dallas Cowboys were.
Yeah, I was just impressed by the Cardinals running game. James Conner was, every time you looked up in the first half, it felt like he was running for 10 yards of carry. And I love them getting Rondale Moore involved in the running game. I think that's kind of, you have to scheme him touches and just throwing him screens is a very unimaginative way of doing so. So I was really impressed with him getting involved in the backfield. And the Cardinals have been playing really well, and credit them for getting a win when everyone said they were just going to tank the entire season away. And huge shout out to Josh Dobbs. His shirt isn't available in the Cardinals store, but he got his first win as an NFL starter on Sunday after being drafted in 2017. So good for him.
Yeah, good for him.
And that is the good of the day.
And he's got his, whenever he does finish playing in the NFL, he's got a job at NASA waiting for him, I'm sure. So pretty sweet life. But Cardinals probably earned that win in terms of how they've played. Ran Washington close, ran the Giants close, obviously on the end of that comeback. But that's us giving the Cardinals their flowers. That is not. I don't think I've got a lot of good. In fact, I've got nothing good to say about the Dallas Cowboys. Byron, have you got anything good before we go into the bad?
No. But what my biggest shocking thing, obviously, the red zone usage is inexplicable. What I found most inexplicable on the day, I think, was down 10-21, and in the second half they ran 22 pass plays, 22 run plays. It's unbelievable. Like, you can't do that. Where's the urgency? And we were talking Sunday live during the game. It's like there's 3 minutes and 20 to go, and they're still like it's like they're up by 2 or something. Like they're just like seeing the game out. It's unbelievable. I do not know what they were thinking. I don't know who's directly to blame. Whether it's Mike McCarthy, obviously it starts with him, but like Dak Prescott's there as well. He's a veteran. Schottenheimer's advisor to McCarthy. It just feels like, I don't know, no adult there in the room to say, like, hey, we're down to the Cardinals. Like, I don't know, they haven't too good too much in the first 2 weeks and they forgot what it is to, grind out a game and actually go and win a game. I don't know, I found it depressing in itself, but like kind of concerning for, when the pressure's on come playoff time, because I think the Cowboys, I think it's still a really elite team. They're still going to make the playoffs, even if they don't win the division, they're still going to be there. Or thereabouts. But when I'm trying in a few weeks, who's there to like make the difference on offense?
Yeah, I think there's a few bits for Dallas there that are worrying, and I'll get into them because I feel like I need to get off my chest after watching that on Sunday. But I still think they're missing the piece around I think Prescott's missing Schultz massively. Schultz went to Houston in free agency, and in Ferguson, in Hendershot. Schoonmate, he just doesn't have it. And if it isn't to CD Lamb, Gallup had a relatively good game. He kind of showed flashes of him being, what he was before his injury. But if it isn't Lamb, and if Lamb gets covered, it isn't anybody at the minute. And I think that's a huge problem. for Dallas. The play calling in the red zone was 5 red zone trips, 1 touchdown. That was where the game was. That was mainly where the game was lost. I think for me, you had the opportunities to come out of this and win the game, despite kind of the defense dropping off, the mistakes, the lack of discipline. It just harked back to kind of 2020, 2021 Cowboys, where the discipline was just gone completely. The inability to get off the field on third down. The defense had a rough day, and it's not going to be as good as it showed in the first 2 weeks every game. You can't do that. Teams in the NFL will find ways to attack you. It just needed some help from the offense to balance it out. And even then, later in the second half, the defense did step up at times. I think in terms of getting the ball back, being able to create opportunities for the offense. But yeah, I was bemused at what Mike McCarthy was doing in his play calling, and I think I mentioned on a review last week again after the Jets game that was the not converting and not finishing drives with touchdowns was a worry for me. And when it comes to a real game, I think they're going to get found out. I wasn't expecting it to be the week after against the Cardinals, but it was. The discipline just in general of, I think there was one drive where Prater kicks the field goal on 4th and 4. They commit the penalty. They lose 2 or 3 minutes of game time and still concede the field goal. It was just brain dead plays. I think the offensive line injuries were a problem. I think it was 3 of the starters were out ultimately. That is going to have an impact on any NFL team. I'm not quite, it's easy to be panic stations after this. I think this is one that will cost them later in the season. This might be the game that cost them a division. This might be the game that cost them playoff seeding. And bite should come the new year. But yeah, I'm not quite its full panic stations. But I think what doesn't help me with Dallas is, especially now McCarthy's play calling, is you see his fucking face where he just looks like he hasn't got a clue what to do when things aren't going well. He just looks like he's got no ideas. He's dumb fucking face, and that just really irritates me. But yeah, not great. I was worried very early in the game. The Cardinals were moving it too easy.
One as well going forward. I think one of the things that worried me is I think maybe Dallas needs to look at maybe moving Mike Parsons around a little more as well, because it felt like every time the Cardinals ran successfully was on the left-hand side when Parsons was on their right-hand side, Cowboys' left-hand side. And, James Conner, I think he had 6 or 7 attempts on the left-hand side and got like 75 yards. And on the right-hand side, it was getting shut down real easy, so they just kept running up the left. And it felt like, watching, like, if I can see that watching, on NFL Plus or whatever dodgy link I might have been watching the game on, can't they see that and maybe move? Because it's one of the things I've really enjoyed on a different team. But Myles Garrett, he's been moving around and like it's been fun watching him. And it just feels like Mike Parsons is a game wrecker and he's incredible. And I'd love to see him moved around the formation a little more to try and make teams second guess a little more. If you can. If you can play him the game, that is not that isn't.
It was just I was just really to how easy the Cardinals had it to run the ball, and that it just harked back to kind of the back end of last season, that Jaguars game last year where the Jaguars moved the ball real easy on them on the ground in the playoffs. Anyway, enough from me. I think I've got it off my chest. I feel better. Joe, just looking at it from obviously the 49ers are going to be one of the powerhouses in the NFC, one of the teams that are going to be in the playoffs, absolutely, and obviously, pushing for a Super Bowl. What did you make of kind of seeing that Dallas performance as a potential, obviously, matchup we play in a couple of weeks, but obviously probably going to play in the postseason as well?
Yeah, I think it's one of the things. It's week 3. I think we do overhype certain games. Like I keep harking back to the 49ers losing to Chicago last year, and that even looks worse when you think about it now. Like how many teams have lost to the Bears last 2 years, and they'll keep digging them out. So I think it's week 3. They've got plenty of time to fix it. I think, like you said, they were just giving up a big players. And I was shocked that they had they had the ball 10 more minutes, nearly 10 more minutes than the Cardinals, and still not doing anything. I think obviously the red zone, you've mentioned it. I'll give you this fat paw because I know how much you love Kellen Moore. But I know this year They lead the NFL in red zone drives with 15. However, they only 6 of drives, so it's 40%. So they're the 4th lowest rate in the NFL with the Jets and Saints. And Keelan Moore last year, the Dallas led the NFL with 71% red zone touchdown rate. So, your favorite guy, who you were so happy with leaving, obviously, so it's having an effect with the red zone conversion. But I think it is. I think the only worrying things is like if they do that against the Eagles or the 49ers, there's no way they're going to win that game. You're probably going to have, Juice Vaughn playing center at the end of the game if they have any of that kind of any of that kind of a performance. But like I say, it's week 3. A lot of things can change. They've got 14 weeks to figure it out. 15 weeks to figure it out. And I think they've still got a class defense. They've still got a number 1 wide out, a good quarterback. So I think they just need to fix them. And I wonder if it's because it was the Cardinals that were going in there thinking, oh, we're going to destroy these again. Let's think about next week. And it was just a bit of a shock, a bit of a rude awakening, which they might need.
Yeah, I think they do need that. And I think maybe that kick up the backside but my worry is if they don't fix those problems, we'll be sat here in 2 weeks' time and the Dallas Cowboys are 2-3, having lost against the Patriots and lost against the San Francisco 49ers. So, yeah, we'll see. Any more to add before we move on? It was very therapeutic.
Just a big shout out to Matt Prater. His 72nd career field goal of 50 yards or more, extending his NFL record. So, he's got a good boot on him. So let's celebrate the kickers for once.
Some kicker love at good teams and great teams cover. Kickers are people too. Absolutely. Cool, good stuff. Let's move into Sunday Night Football then. The Pittsburgh Steelers against the Las Vegas Raiders. My God, there were so many Pittsburgh Steelers fans, as there usually are in road games, but it felt more in Vegas. The Yinzers had a great time in Vegas, clearly, and came away with a win, most importantly. 23-18, Pittsburgh Steelers moved to 2-1. Let's start with the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. It did look better. It was a step forward.
From where?
I mean, from rock bottom. Yeah.
I think they looked a lot better. Still not, I had them. I think I had them to make the playoffs because I thought the offense was going to be a lot better. I think, like you said, it's certainly an improvement. I was shocked to find out it was Pickett's first multi-touchdown game, first in 16. I was like, what? And actually, I had to look that up because I thought it was crazy. I think they landed on a run. I think the rushing attack was better, and I think that helps Pickett, especially with the play action, for him to hit them big plays because he's hit 1 this game and 1 before, which I think's helped them out. But it's still a defensive team. I think that defense won them this game again, and I think that's why they're going to lean on that for the rest of the year, and they just need this level of performance, maybe a little tick more if they are going to actually contend with the playoffs. Because even though it was bad, it wasn't, it wasn't amazing. It wasn't like, wow, the Steelers are here now. Let's be worried about that offense, especially that it was against the Raiders defense. So I think you got to take that into consideration more. Because again, I wasn't expecting much from the Raiders, but another terrible performance, especially from their defense. And I'm not. I make. Josh McDaniels again. One of them coaches, is he going to last all the year? How it's going? It's early questions, but not liking what I'm seeing.
I think it depends if Mark Davis can afford to get rid of him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he sees through the season or not, but it's not looking good for the Raiders. Steelers, I think are okay, and I think, what, the Steelers should be a team, with the way that defense is, I think it's fine to lean on the defense to win games. You just have to have some element of offense to be able to make that happen, and they did. Pick it up better. Yeah, I think. Where did I see? I heard the stat. I watched Barstool Sports Advisors on Sunday before the games, and the stat came up there that Pickett had never had a multi-touchdown game, and I know he's not had one full season yet, but still wild in modern NFL that's the case. Having had, what's he played? 12, 13 games?
16
games. Yeah, so 15 games without one. Wild. But they did look a lot better. Thought they moved the ball on the ground a little bit better as well. And then, kind of got Pickens involved. Calvin Austin on that big play. Frymuth on a couple of big plays as well. So, shout out as well, TJ Watt. He's on pace for a ridiculous number of sacks. I think that's 6 through 3 games. So what's that? 34 sacks we're on for?
Good maths.
Is it 22 and a half, the record?
I think so. It's around that mark, isn't it?
Yeah, 22 and a half. Yeah, on pace for scandalous number of sacks, 34. Yeah, and again, just leading the way for that defense. But they've got playmakers, I think, across that defense as a whole, haven't they? I think when you sort of see them, I think was it Patrick Peterson that got the interception? Wallace got a couple. They just kind of all pop up, don't they, and contribute. I think a step in the right direction for the Steelers. And what you're looking at that AFC North now. You've got 3 at 2-1 and 1 at 1-2. I think it's going to be tight all year long, and it'd be interesting. I think it's just going to be real close. Who's going to win it? Nobody knows. Any more on the Raiders?
Yes, it's just like
I want to have my rant about the Raiders. Sorry,
you go for them.
Go for
your rant.
So Paul had his rant about Sean McVay last week, stealing his under or his handicap spread, and fair enough. Like, it didn't impact the Rams' win-loss, but Josh McDaniels kicked a field goal with 2:25 remaining, which actively negatively impacted their ability to win the game. I happened to have the Steelers winning both halves, and that caused them to not do that. They lost 11 thanks to that non-entity of a field goal. That should be a fireable offence. That is unbelievable to do that. You cost your team the chance of winning the game because you didn't go for it on 4th down. He was asked afterwards why, and he said, well, we needed to get multiple possessions. Does the guy not understand how you can score 8 points in one possession? Mind-blowing. You can't do that as a head coach. You can't come out and admit it. Just lie. Say, I don't know. I don't trust Jimmy Garoppolo to throw it that far. He has a concussion that we hid about during the game, and now he's in concussion protocol. I'm not saying anything. Just, I don't know what of it. I was raging at not getting my win both halves bet because Josh McDaniels is pig-headed and doesn't know how to coach football. I don't really have much else to add on the Raiders. Just another stat to kind of back up how great that Steelers defense is. Through 2 games, the Raiders offense have given up 11 pressures, and they gave up 20 on Sunday.
Nice, it's definitely going to be the driving force behind wins for Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think the people of Pittsburgh would have it any other way. Cool, good stuff. We head into our final game of the week. Monday, we'll just touch on one of the Monday Night Football games, and we'll stick, I suppose, with the AFC North because it was involved the Bengals. Rams at Bengals. Joe Burrow did play, and they got that much-needed win, 19-16 to the Cincinnati Bengals. It still wasn't great on offense from the Bengals. It was definitely, again, a win driven by the defense. But we did see Jamar Chase involved a heck of a lot more, 12 receptions for 141 yards. What did we make to the Bengals, first of all?
I think they got very fortunate that the Rams tackle, Alaric Jackson, got injured because the Rams O-line went to shit as soon as he went out. Moakman went out as well for a little part of the game as well, and it felt like as soon as that happened, the Rams just kind of gave up the game. It was very kind of like a little turgid and very battle goal. And then as soon as it felt like a white flag to me, as soon as the left tackle went out, they gave no help to the backup left tackle. Trey Hendrickson licked his lips and just was in the backfield every play. It felt like he had 10 pressures total, 2 sacks in the game, and he was kind of the game wrecker. I know we don't really talk. Bengals defense had a rough opening 2 weeks, but I think they kind of won the game for them this week. Burrow had done what he could. Jamar Chase had a really good game. They got him involved a lot. But yeah, I was so underwhelmed by the Rams, pushing the Niners somewhat close, taking the Seahawks to town. And then this week, it just felt like I don't know, a little adversity, and it kind of like McVay just gave up the ghost a little bit. I was real disappointed in the Rams. Bengals, I'm pleased they got the win because obviously we were both real high on the Bengals. And I love Joe Burrow, I love Jamar Chase. So like I want to see them win as well, just as a neutral. Don't want to see them sitting at 0-3 and all the questions, etc. But I was really disappointed in the Rams. I just thought they didn't give up a competitive game in the second half, especially.
Yeah, it felt like, you see, once they had the problems on the O-line, it just kind of fell apart for them. Stafford was just under pressure constantly, and they just couldn't really sustain any drives. It's a shame because I thought they were going quite well in the game, and they were right there in the game. The Rams, I think, probably a little bit where they kind of lost away a little bit. So Puka Nacua, who we've raved about the first 2 weeks, he caught a pass in the last 2 minutes of the first half and didn't catch another pass until last 2 minutes in the fourth quarter. They just kind of stopped going to him, which kind of, when you've got, the form he's been in and how open he's been able to get, it just seemed odd to stop going to him. But part of that was Stafford was just fighting people off left, right, and centre. But yeah, it just felt like kind of they were right in the game, and it just really just kind of fell apart. Having kind of no real rushing.
And I just think, like,
didn't help, but yeah.
As well as Stafford being under pressure all the game, though, like where's the screen game? Like, can Stafford get it out in 1 second? There was no. It seemed like everything was deep, and it's like you don't need to get 10 yards on every play. Like, and Sean McVay, I don't need to tell Sean McVay that, but it just felt like get Tutu out well, like jet sweeps, get him scheming something, and it just felt like it wasn't there. It was like they'd gone some incredibly vanilla game plan. And Stafford's looked real good through the first 2 weeks, and then again the O-line collapses, and there's no creativity. There's no what can we do to get the best out of what we have here. It's real disappointing.
Yeah, especially like you said, the rushing game. Just because I think the Bengals were the worst team against the run, and the first 2 weeks are one of the worst anyway, and they only got Williams rushing 10 times. And it just felt like, if your offensive line is pressuring your quarterback, especially on the outside, why don't you just run it up the gut, and keep going through? And I think it was early on as well, though, on like the 2-yard line, or they're certainly in the red zone, and they just did not go to the run. When you think you're against a team who doesn't do well against the run, why try and be, big? Can he sometimes be a bit too clever for himself, McVay, or when he's just play simple football? And they win this game. They could have easily won this game because Burrows wasn't 100%. You can just tell that. Like you said, I think Chase had a great game. They were lining him up everywhere on the field and getting him involved. And this game was there to be won for the Rams. And I think they just let it slip. Just playing poor football, and you don't really attribute that to Sean McVay. But I think he's definitely got to be up there with one of the reasons why they didn't win. But the Bengals had I think they had a great game plan. I think coming into this year, even though they lost a lot of players, I still expect them to have a good defense, just because their defensive coach is one of the best coordinators in the league, and who knows if he'll be there next year. So I think they had a good game plan. I think you were talking about Puka Nacua. I think the game plan they did have was to try and be physical on the line and try and stop him doing easy routes. I think it's strange to say, but it feels like the Bengals won because of their defense rather than Burrows and Chase, which is usually the case. But like you said, they've got that win. They're only one game away from the other 3 teams. So from being like this could be the worst start, disaster zone, to being like, oh, they're one game behind. I think they've got a bye in week 7, and I think they've got a few not too difficult games coming up. So if they can get 3-3 before that bye, then it's looking a bit more rosy from the Bengals. And they can push on to the second half when Bowes gets fit again.
Just a quick note. I love the white and black Bengals jerseys. They are very awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
And the white out thing they did in the stadium, also very cool. Love that. They should wear those jerseys more often. Bengals don't run. I think they've got they're at Titans, at Cardinals, home to Seahawks before playing the 49ers. So which I think that's where the bye comes in, isn't it? Play 49ers week 8, so the bye's week 7. Yeah, and that's right. So they've got Titans, Cardinals, Seahawks, could be in a position to kind of get Burrow rolling and pick up a couple more wins. Right, we'll leave Monday Night Football there. Let's have a check-in. Should we start with the FourFold competition first? Let's start with the FourFold challenge, and we'll go for it. As much as I really don't want to talk about this, just a reminder: it's our ongoing weekly competition. We all pick one favorite, one underdog, one over, one under, and we also have our guests do the same. The loser at the end of the season will make a donation to a charity of the winner's choice for the variance between the winning and losing records. It just looks so bad, those 4 crosses next to my name. So me and Tanner got
that thing under your name as well.
Yeah. That says loser.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for that, Joe. Me and Tanner. Tanner was our guest at LTS_Tanner. Go give him a follow. Both picked Cowboys as 12-point favourites as they were when we cut the lines against the Cardinals. We've talked, Byron, your favourite was Broncos Dolphins, which the Dolphins covered comfortably, to say the least. Joe, one game I talked about, you had the Eagles as 5-point favourites against the Bucs. That was the other Monday Night Football game.
Yeah, it's fairly straightforward. I think that's why I just chose. I think, Baker's had a decent start to the year, but it's not been against the greatest opponents, and he's was against one of the best defenses, and the Eagles are rolling where they're not even playing the best, and they're 3-0. So I think it's a bit scary if you're in the NFC, but yeah, fairly simple.
Yeah, pretty straightforward, wasn't it, for the Eagles? Two pretty ugly. I thought the 2 Hurts interceptions were really ugly. But again, they're just so strong that they aren't playing well. I don't think I watched that game this afternoon, and I was not impressed with Philadelphia at all. And they won by 2.
But how good is Swift? I think that's his. I think he's like 1-something million his only game this year, and he's absolutely destroying it.
Yeah, after not being used in week 1.
That's the key to getting better at your running backs. Works in Miami, works in Philadelphia. Don't play your running backs week 1. Get Kenneth Gainwell out there, and then week 2, week 3, unleash the actual players. Yeah,
DeAndre Swift, yeah, they're looking, when they get it really rolling, scary proposition. And kind of the start where Baker struggled, but the Bucs as a whole struggled, didn't they, really? And, understandable. That's kind of, where they are. They're not in a position to compete against the Eagles right now, are they?
No, and Jalen Carter looks exactly like Jalen Carter should. Very annoying, but Philly, right?
Yeah, very much like in my Jalen Carter Defensive Player of the Year future at 8-1 that I got before the start of the season.
Yeah, especially when you have these kind of games on island games. Yeah, you get these on primetime TV, and he's just there bullying people already 3 games into his NFL career.
The hit he laid on for the first fumble was ridiculous. Like, was it Rashad White? He nearly knocked him out of his boots.
Yeah.
It was wild. Couple of I had a couple of props that came in. Nice. I had Eagles over 23.5 points, and Eagles first quarter line minus half a point, which was really annoying when they decided to. I was really worried when I was watching it that when they went for it on 4th down instead of kicking that field goal, I was like, oh, great, we're going to end up 0-0 at the end of the first quarter. But luckily they scored on another field. They took on a field goal when they were in position later in the quarter. So those were the favourites. Underdogs, I had the Titans plus 3.5 against the Browns. That did not go well at all. They just weren't in the game, were they? The Titans against the Browns.
After all that spiel you gave as well with the history of... Yeah,
Vrabel's an underdog, yeah.
Yeah, I think your picks were like historically bad, weren't they? To be honest, like how much the Cowboys lost, what was the difference in spread? And like, it was 24 points, the Browns beat, so 21 points there, Paul. It's wasn't the greatest picks, the favourite underdog.
Yeah, I had a bad week. I don't know.
And the over, to be honest, I think that was only 26.
Yeah, I was so lucky with what I actually put on, which we'll come to. But yeah, Browns 27-3.
Well, to be fair, he was just copying you on that one.
Exactly.
Browns, probably Deshaun Watson's best game since he's moved.
Yeah.
Yeah, he still had that wild when he was like taking a sack and like threw it behind him like Miles. He's like, what is
inexplicable.
Yeah. But I think it just goes as well. Browns defense, definitely like top 5 this year easily. I think they're looking good.
The Browns haven't allowed an offense into the red zone this season.
That's wild. Myles Garrett with
it's 3 weeks.
3.5, just another 3.5 sacks on the day for Myles Garrett.
Did you see the play that caused the Titans to false start with Myles Garrett? It was incredible. And this is what I'm talking about with Micah Parsons. So he goes from one side and 2 tight ends follow him. So he goes to the other side, the tight ends follow him again, and the Titans can't get the playoff and take a delay of game, not false start. It was incredible. Like, that is a man who is impacting the game without even touching the ball.
Yeah, he's starting off well again. Amari Cooper thought had a decent game as well. I think he was over 100 yards for the game with the touchdown, and not so much on the ground was it for the Browns in the first game post Chubb injury. Yeah, careful.
Chubb is going to be back as well. Chubb only has a torn MCL.
That is wild. After seeing that, like how his just entire knee isn't ripped apart, I do not know.
That's crazier than any of the games this week. That's crazier than the Dolphins getting 70 points. I've seen his leg snap in half. Like, I feel like I've been misled. But I mean, in a very good way. Goodness me.
Yes, hopefully his return sooner rather than later from trouble, as long as he's okay. Titans, though, not good. It was pretty bad from the Titans, wasn't it?
See, I think that's more who should maybe go for a quarterback for the Jets, Ryan Tannehill. Like, he's not looking great, but the Titans look appalling.
Yeah. Might be a while before I go for another Vrabel as an underdog bet because they look that bad. Byron, you had Chargers +1 over the Vikings. Joe, you took the Steelers +2.5. Tanner had the Rams +2.5, so just short against the Bengals. Why is there not a big red cross on that, Joe? What's going on? Come on. Our overs. I took Detroit. Thanks. Detroit, Atlanta, that just ended up being a bit of a dud game, really. That Atlanta offense, after looking pretty decent in week 2, looked really bad against the Lions.
Yeah, I think I actually watched this game because, I did over as well. And I think it was after, like, the first 10 minutes. I think both teams weren't doing too much. And I was like, this is nowhere. This isn't happening for the over. But, yeah, definitely. I was disappointed with the Falcons' offense because it's not like the Detroit Lions defense has been amazing in the last few weeks. So I expected a bit more from them. But it also is like, both teams are 2-1. Feels about right.
It does, yeah. Saw Jahmyr Gibbs get a few more touches for the Lions. He rushed it 17 times. Starting to potentially see him become more of a focal point now, obviously the injury to Montgomery.
Still only 2 targets, though.
Yeah.
And Montgomery might be back Thursday, I hear, so.
Interesting.
Be a good game.
Interesting. But yeah, good bounce back one for the Lions after being beat by the Seahawks in overtime the week before. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a pretty solid game. Sam Laporta's, again, we talked about him a couple of times already. He's looking really, really good. Big fan of Sam Laporta's 8 receptions for 84 yards. And Brian Branch as well, again, to talk about another one of the rookies. He's looking brilliant. He can play safety, he can play corner. He's looking really, really good. Got in the bag, I think he's 3 tackles for losses in the game. Atlanta kind of gave up on the running game, I think, didn't they, as well? I guess, being down like they were contributing to that. But I think they only ran it 20.
I was so surprised by that.
Yeah. And I guess, if you can do that and force
Desmond only had 10 carries.
Yeah. Force Desmond really to beat you, then you're going to come on the right side of that more often than not. Joe, you were on with me, weren't you, there on that over? And Byron and Tanner both were on Carolina Panthers Seahawks over. The return of Andy Dalton.
Well over.
It was, in the end.
Yeah, I think that ended up 64 points, I think, that ended up being something like that.
Yeah, Dalton was back starting after Bryce Young was out with a ankle injury. I think he's going to be back for week 4. But yeah, just the Seahawks, especially, just kind of ran away with it, didn't they, in the second half?
Yeah, one of the best farms from Zach Charbonnet. You'll see it on his late touchdown. Just he knocked the guy about 10 yards backwards. It was incredible. Yeah. So I would recommend anyone who enjoys watching that kind of thing to seek it out.
Yeah, it was a great hit. Big fan of that. But yeah, I know obviously the way the game was going, but having Andy Dalton throwing the ball 58 times is probably not conducive to winning in the NFL. Yeah, again, another one where the Carolina Panthers just couldn't run the ball either. Adam Thielen had a big game. One to watch, because if Bryce Young isn't back, possibly a waiver wire pick for your fantasy team. He had 11 receptions on 14 targets for 145 yards and a touchdown. That's a big contribution to your fantasy team if you're struggling. DJ Shark.
Revenge game this week.
Oh, of
course. Against Vikings Panthers this week, yeah.
And the Seahawks, kind of put, after that initial bad performance in week 1 against the Rams, have put two back-to-back against the Lions and now the Panthers. Do we think they'll, again, they've still been struggling with the O-line, but do we feel they might be kind of getting back to where they were last year?
I think so. I think the offense is ticking really well. And getting a little ahead of ourselves for Thursday, but they're 1.5 point underdogs going into New York next week to play the Giants, and I'm kind of stunned by that. Because I would have the Seahawks as favourites for that game.
Well, Giants are 1.5 point favourites against the Seahawks from Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
That is wild.
Mm-hmm.
What am I missing there?
I've already bet on it. I can't see how that line doesn't move.
Yeah. That is wild. Probably one, I think, we've not seen too much of JSN yet, have we? Jackson Smith and Jigba. No. He's one to kind of fill in the to flush into the offense a little bit more. But Metcalf had another big game. DK's going well so far this season. Finishing off then on our unders, I just couldn't hit anything. Chiefs Bears. That Bears consolation touchdown tripped the over, which was annoying. Just can't do anything right for me at the minute. I mean,
all right, shake it off.
Let's touch on the Bears. How do you just blow it up now? I mean, is it too early to just in the season to just go blow it up? Justin Fields is not the guy.
I think you at least get rid of their head coach and see if. But then saying that, who are you going to bring in? I think that's the problem we've got. They've got obviously one of the coordinators has already gone. It's not the offensive coordinator is putting his hat in the ring and showing it. It's like who you're actually going to get to come in. But it feels like everyone's given up on Fields already. But at least is it worth getting someone in an offensive mind, someone off the street, and being like, can we actually make Justin Fields a decent quarterback? And if you can, then you've just got to blow it up and move on because you can't go another year like this. It feels more and more like it's just not working for
not
Fields.
When you're going to have such a good pick.
Yeah, well, they have the pick, don't they? Yeah, because technically they could have the first 2 picks if the Panthers don't go well as well, which would be pretty. And the Cardinals could have the 3rd and 4th because they've got there you go. They've got the Houstons, haven't they?
Texans.
Yes. So I think you probably do make changes. Eberflus, that defense is just diabolical. What else can you really say about the Bears, to be honest? Other than at least Taylor Swift went to go and see him, so
Yeah, Taylor Swift is in the house at Arrowhead for the Chiefs. I guess that the rumors of Kelsey and Taylor Swift are just no longer. Swift was sat with Kelsey's mum. Mm-hmm. Is that another song? Anyway, Kelsey's mum in the box. I was very excited. It felt like she was getting a bit too excited for a blowout, though. Like she was going wild when the Chiefs were just trampling all over the Bears.
Well, they definitely threw that touchdown to Kelce just for that moment, because I think that was before Mahomes was obviously a bench when he sat out when he came out. So they definitely thought, I'm just going to throw to Kelce whatever happens just for this, just for the celebration, just to big it up. And I think apparently they went like Kelce had a restaurant in Kansas afterwards, and they all went partying there. So fun to be a Chief.
And as much as you feel sorry for the Bears, obviously, I think at this point it's kind of just a feeling they know all too well.
I don't know, but was that a Taylor Swift pun?
I don't know either, to be honest.
That was a Taylor Swift pun.
It was wasted on us, Byron. Sorry,
Taylor Swift pun.
Absolutely wasted. Maybe someone listening might enjoy it. Pause if you did. But yeah,
no bad blood here.
Got that one. Excellent. We're very, very hip on this show. I know. Just for the Bears, it just feels like everything that can go wrong has gone wrong, and I just don't think Justin Fields is a NFL quarterback. I think we have this problem with Ohio State quarterbacks, don't we? There's just not really been one that's translated to the NFL. And I think in recent years, is there a little bit to say the wide receivers are almost too good? So it's like Justin Fields waits for them to get for receivers to be college open. He doesn't throw a receiver open. But you don't get college open in the NFL.
I think the biggest indictment though is that Justin Fields looks worse than he did as a rookie.
Yeah,
and he looks worse than he did last year by a lot. Talking about a clean house, and you look and you say, well, okay, Getsy as OC, what have you improved on offense? Eberflus, what have you improved on this team? Pauls, what have you improved on this team? And it's like, I don't think any of them can hold on and say, oh yeah, I've improved these 5 things, and that's why we're better, and we're something worse because of something else. I don't know who you look at has done a good job in Chicago in the last, pick a number of years.
Yeah.
But everyone who's in current post, to maximize talent, and I don't think it exists. And I think, Joe saying get an offensive-minded coaching, and it's like, yes, obviously. Why is that something that we can obviously say, you are building your franchise. It's not the 80s. You can't build your franchise around middle linebackers. You have an extremely physically talented young quarterback who needs molded to the NFL, and you give him Matt Eberflus and Luke Getsy, and I'm not going to say I knew they would fail when they came in, because I have no idea, but imagine if they'd gone with Mike McDaniel, who didn't get an interview. I find it hard to believe the Bears would look this bad.
Yeah.
There's a lot of teams saying that right now.
Yeah, there are a lot of teams. There's just a bit where I just don't think Fields is capable of being a competent NFL quarterback. I just don't think he is.
He might not be, but in the same way, say Sam Darnold, I always kind of give that little thing of he hasn't really had much fucking chance either, has he? Darnold had Adam Gase and the head coach did something. Matt Rule, not Dave anything. And what chance have you got of progressing as a young quarterback who needs development when that's what you're getting? And yeah, they might never make it, obviously. Justin Fields might just not ever click in the NFL because he just can't process quickly enough, and he just needs things to be too certain. But I certainly love to see him have a go with another coach, whether that's in Chicago or not.
Yeah, they've just also stopped. Obviously, his strength is his ability to run, and they've just stopped calling any sort of design runs for him anymore. So yeah. Anyway, that's Chicago, and we've covered the rest of it with the unders. You got Titans, Browns, Byron, Steelers, Raiders. Joe, you doubled up, got the under there, and Tanner also had that. So we went. 0-4 for me, 4-0 for Byron, 3-1 for Joe. Joe was 11 out of 12 so far, 11-1, and Tanner went 2-2. So how am I bottom now? So the guest, I'm bottom at 5-7. The guests are 6-6. Byron's 8-4, and Joe's 11-1. I'm a 60% better.
That's just been a good host to the guests.
Bottom on this fucking competition. Anyway, let's flip to our picks because I think we've talked about it. I think there's only one game we haven't talked about, so this should be pretty quick. So our 2 games, we all picked the Niners. I phased myself out of betting on them because of the Daniel Jones stat that I pulled on the preview. But obviously the Niners won comfortably, ticking along nicely. Joe, the Niners.
Yeah, it wasn't even a game they played well, I don't think. Again, I think it was similar to the Eagles. I think they didn't really get out the second or third gear, it felt like, during the game. It was a bit closer than I expected it to be at the beginning. But, the type of team where, like you said, good teams win, great teams cover, where, even at the best, they managed to eke out points. I think Brock Purdy wasn't his best game, but he still went over 300 yards, so you can't really complain, to be honest. And, I'll bet I got off that one as well. I went after your recommendation, Paul, about the rushing attempts. I think I got one on San Fran and also the Eagles game as well, where I think both of them were like 29.5 or 30.5 rushed, where that was the line, and I think both were near the 40. So it was easy money with them too.
Yeah, you might get another couple of weeks out of that on those teams until it just sort of settles down, and they will get the lines right eventually, the bookies. But it just seems odd. And looking at next week, you'll see it's off again. We're all on Miami -6.5 against Denver. Jets Patriots. We haven't talked about that game. Patriots hung on to be the Jets 15-10. Yeah. I mean, again, the Jets had a chance to win that. They had chances to win that game.
It's got to be over for Zach Wilson. I think similar to Justin Fields. Just watching it, it's just like he's never going to be a good quarterback. There's nothing positive what I've seen from him in any games he's played. And you can't even say he's got a bad, he's got one of the best receivers in the league. He's got a good running. I know the offensive line's not the best, but he's got a great defense as well. So he's not going out of control. It's just, I just think this need to get someone else in because, why?
I feel real sorry for people. There's people who've got Garrett Wilson and Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall in their fantasy teams, and I think it's just time to let them go, I think.
I think Salah maybe should have, done a Josh McDaniels and kicked the field goal or something. Get within that 2.5. Come on. People are relying on
Yes. Byron
you. You're going to win the game. Just get within 2.5.
Well, he's not got the memo, has he? Good teams and great
that wasn't obvious.
Patriots, again, it was just a bit of a turgid game, really, wasn't it? Again, it's not one I saw too much on Red Zone when I was watching it. But Zeke had a bit of a breakout game for the Patriots. He got a few more touches, didn't he? 16 touches for 80 yards. Saw some of the old tough running Zeke Elliott. That was nice to see.
Yeah. Maybe Dallas could have done a bit of that tough this week as well.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been nice, Great, it would have been great to have Zeke in the red zone, wouldn't it? Like, we wouldn't have been Dallas wouldn't have been 1 for 5 in the red zone against the Cardinals if Zeke Elliott was still on the roster.
And they need a centre.
Yeah, some injuries, so cover for Tyler Badaj. Apart from that, Patriots again, they really needed a win as well, didn't they, to get to 1 and 2, starting 0-3. Again, wouldn't have been great for them. Again, not massive expectations on the Patriots, but got the job done. That's 15 in a row against the Jets as well? Yeah, I can't bet.
Yeah, and just on, I know we're touching on Justin Fields. Definitely isn't going to be a thing. I'm not ready to fully write off Justin Fields yet. I'm definitely ready to write off Zach Wilson fully. In each of his 3 seasons as a starter, he has ranked dead last in completion rate.
It was even ones where it was like he had the time to throw it as well. He just wasn't seeing anything. I think.
Excellent. The other game, and I'm pretty sure it's not.
I mean, they've got Trevor Siemian, and it's like that is a relief, which tells you how bad it is.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see how soon Trevor Siemian gets on the field. I think we've got a couple of games we just haven't talked about, so we'll get to them. The next one, Houston-Jacksonville. We were all on Jacksonville. Houston not only covered, Houston won the game and won the game comfortably, 37-17. One I didn't see coming. Jacksonville have got problems.
The Cowboys of the AFC, yeah.
All right.
No, they do have problems. I think defense and the offense has not looked great as well, which is surprising with with Lawrence and the weapons. I think they've just let it. I thought at the start of the season they could have been in for a shot to get the number one ranking just because how weak their division was and schedule is, and they've just thrown it away by losing to Jacksonville and they lost to the Chiefs, but that game was there to be won as well. And yeah, it's curious. I think everyone was expecting Lawrence of last year, but it feels like he's reverted back to how he started last year rather than how he ended it. It's disappointing, to say the least.
With those weapons he's got around him as well, I feel like there's no excuse for Trevor Lawrence this year. And yeah, it's not going well at all. On the other side, CJ Stroud. I thought CJ Stroud's. I think CJ Stroud's doing really well 3 weeks in.
Oh yeah.
I think he's looking really, really good. First two, obviously, the O-line's been a
problem. The entire 80% of their O-line is on IR or out.
Yeah. And we talked through the first 2 weeks problems protecting him. He didn't get sacked in this game by Jacksonville, and that helped. Tank Dell had a bit of a breakout game, 5 receptions, 145 yards and a touchdown. I think the third round wide receiver out of Houston. Looked really, really good, real good deep threat. And the defense kind of stepped up as well, which was good to see. So yeah, Houston rolling 1-2, and again that's just that division. It's just condensed already. And again, yeah, I just think that, I wonder what I've not seen, but that price for Jacksonville to win the division surely is longer now than it was. What were they heavily odds on? So yeah, real rough start for Jacksonville. Titans, me and Byron were on the Titans. Joe, you've got Cleveland minus the 3.5. Atlanta, Detroit. Joe, you're on the right side of it again. Detroit minus 3. Green Bay Saints. Actually, there's a few games we haven't talked about. How the New Orleans Saints lost this game. Obviously, a big part of it due to Derek Carr going out, but it just felt they just needed to put together one drive. And James was okay when he came in as well, but they just couldn't sustain a drive.
Yeah. And Green Bay just went real hot at the end.
Yeah. Obviously, New Orleans lost the game, but covered on here because we had them at +2 before we cut it off. It ended up flipping, didn't it? Before the game, that the Saints were actually favourites. But me and you had the Saints covering that. Jordan Love came alive in the fourth quarter. I thought that was big. He looked pretty poor, but through 3 quarters. But in the fourth quarter, he looked a lot better.
Yeah, I think we've said it the first few weeks. It's been promising for him. That's what you want to see from a young quarterback of your team. Having these kind of performances where they might not look good for 3 quarters, but he still won them the game. So yeah, it's looking positive for Green Bay and getting some players back. Hopefully, they got Aaron Jones back next week, and yeah. Oh, it's Thursday, isn't it? Yeah, and,
they really need Aaron Jones back. AJ, I thought they'd be okay, and AJ Dillon would pick up the slack, but he's not. He's been terrible.
I'm sure I saw someone that for someone who's like that big and that stocky, it just apparently falls over after like every 5 yards, even if it's in the clear, it somehow falls over. So they definitely need Jones, and yeah, should be an interesting game. Big for both teams.
Detroit. We'll have a quick look at that before we wrap up. We all have Buffalo. Buffalo just demolished. Buffalo demolished the Washington Commanders. Big defensive performance from Buffalo. If you had them in fantasy like I did, I think they scored you 30-odd points. It's great to have. But yeah, just kind of the Commanders probably coming back down to earth after their 2-0 start.
Yeah, first in the preview, obviously they played Arizona and Denver. Yeah, Denver. With the first 2 games, and Arizona's defense has looked better, but obviously how bad Denver's been. So I think this is their first big test, and yeah, Howard didn't pass it at all. So again, it's one of them teams where start off well 2-1, but who knows where they'll be end of the season. I think it all depends on Sam Howell, and I don't think we'll know if he is a good, capable quarterback probably until mid-season and see where they go from then.
Yeah, I think it was. Poor Sam Howell was on the receiving end tonight. He got sacked 9 times, threw 4 interceptions. Rough day. But Sam Howell's going to have these days, I think. Isn't he? Stephon Diggs involved, 8 receptions for 111 yards, and moved the ball on the ground quite well. Do we feel like 2 weeks in a row? Do we feel like the Bills might be settled now. Again, I know against the opposition, Raiders and Commanders isn't great, but they feel like they kind of might be in the groove now. Real test this week against the Dolphins.
Yeah, real test this week. I wouldn't be stunned if they beat the Dolphins, though. I mean,
it's in Buffalo, yeah.
I think the over's going to be a high number, but I expect it to be a lot of points. So I think that's going to be a real good game. I don't think it's going to tell the story of either if they lose, though. I think both can still make the playoffs, and both should feel comfortable still being, in position to do so, regardless of who wins or loses on Sunday.
Yeah. Moving on, so Byron and Joe, you both have the Chargers +1 against Minnesota. I had Vikings. We all were on the Ravens, who were beat by the Colts. We're all on the Seahawks, who covered comfortably. All on the Chiefs. All on the Cowboys, who got beat. All on the Steelers +2.5. All on the Eagles -5. And then me and Joe were on the Rams +2.5. Lost by 3 at Cincinnati. So I think that's right, Joe. You went 12-4 for the week.
Yeah, 12-4, and at the other blowout, I'm not too bold about not getting, because I'll be surprised if anyone went the other way. But yeah, 12-4, good record.
Well
this
done,
week.
Joe. Me and Byron both on 9-7. That's my first winning week of the season on this. So good start. The leaderboard is at this. I am also at the bottom of this. 22, 24, and 2. Byron second, 26, 20, and 2, and Joe 28, 18, and 2. Got a 2-game lead over Byron, 6-game lead over me. Start of the season. Well done, Joe. You're on fire.
I know, winning both competitions.
You are winning both competitions. Excellent. How did we do from a betting perspective? So I think my weekend when I went 5-3-1 on my picks, I panic backed Dallas and Kansas after a rough early slate as a double. It didn't come in. And of course, my FourFold didn't come in. A couple of props on the Eagles Monday night. Joe, how was yours?
Yes, I made money just based on backing the rushing attempts for the San Fran Eagles. Didn't win any map. Didn't win the FourFold or the FreeFold. Obviously, Dallas let me down. I managed to cash out on the anytime touchdowns. I can't remember who I had now, but 2 of them scored fairly quickly, and I needed Zay Flowers, but it didn't feel like it was going to happen, so I managed to make some money on that one. And I had Aaron Donald to get a sack last night, which worked out as well.
Nice. Byron?
So for the week, obviously, I won my FourFolds, which was a nice one. I had a 2-pick unders, which was Bills-Washington under 43.5, and then Colts-Ravens under 44, which, if that ended with anything other than a field goal, like e.g. a touchdown, that would have been a push. So that was a bit of a fortunate one. I had the Steelers +3 for a win. And I had the Eagles on the handicap here. Did have some losers as well. Let me just look at them. Jamar Chase was 2 touchdowns yesterday. He had a great game, but he didn't get in the end zone once. I'd done the DraftKings special yesterday, which was 30+ yards for Evans, Devonta Smith, and AJ Brown. Devonta Smith came up 2 yards short, which is a bit of a bummer. Steelers to win both halves. I got screwed out of by Josh McDaniels. And I think we had a couple more losers here. Oh, Jamar Gibbs, I had over 3.5 receptions.
Nice.
He had 2 targets, 1 reception. Staggering. They won the game, so I always say you can't criticize too much when the team wins, but that was a tough one to say. The Heinz was very dry this week and no sauce to it at all. And what was the worst one? The worst bet of the week I do have. I had the Jags -15.5 alternate spread.
Oh, that's rancid, yeah.
Imagine the odds if you flip that.
Yeah.
Texas minus.
Yeah, Texas -15. Yeah. So make sure you follow along if you're not already. Make sure you
Texas
follow
-19.5. It's an Emmy price.
Might as well. Make sure you follow along to our social media channels at GTW_GTC on Instagram, Twitter, X, because that's where you get the updates for our bets to follow along. And yeah, we've been pretty successful so far, I think. Yeah, that's each week we've cashed a FourFold. I will contribute at some point to that. I'm
the Fed.
Yeah, I'm 15. I'm 15, 7 and 2, 63% on my spreads and totals. So yeah, pretty good start to the season. We're going to finish up this week long episode. Thanks for sticking with us with our new segment. So as we've joined partnerships with Mr. 63%, thank you, Byron, with the Fantasy Game Day app here in the UK, we're going to present and break down the winning lineup each week. So just before we get into that, Fantasy Game Day app, the UK's first NFL daily fantasy app, exclusively for fans in the UK. Join a game and build a lineup of your favourite NFL stars within the budget. Enter up to 5 lineups to improve your chances of winning a cash prize. The top 20% of entries win, and the higher you finish, the higher your prize bracket. It's finally here, exclusively available in the UK. Go and download now from your App Store, Google Play Store, wherever. Must be 18 years or over. Please gamble responsibly. So, the Fantasy Game Day lineup of the week. So, you pick a quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a flex, a tight end, and then a captain, which can't be a quarterback. Your captain, just like in Fantasy Premier League, if you play that, is double points. So, just to break down the winner this week. So, this person walked away. I think there were 86 entries into the competition this week. Prize pool was over, I think it was 680 odd pounds. The winner won £159, £7.50 entry. £159 win, not bad at all. I think, there's a couple ones, but I think probably, I suppose your key one, Keenan Allen as the captain, 90 points, so he's 45 points, double as your captain, 215 receiving yards, plus the touchdown throw. An inspired choice, wouldn't you say, gents?
Yeah, great choice. And I think with the 3 Miami guys as well, it's them 4 them probably won it alone. We've just
Derek Henry didn't do much to help.
Derek, I mean, amazing that this person won with carrying Derek Henry for 2 points, which is wild, and how much Derek Henry would have been of the £40,000 budget. But yes, it was Keenan Allen captain, Tua quarterback for 28, Mosa running back for 45, Derek Henry running back for 2, Tyreek Hill for 30, Diggs for 19, Cam Sutton for 19, and Gerald Everett for 9. Pretty great, pretty solid lineup. Couldn't have done much better, and won at an absolute canter. I think it won by about 35 points as well. Not entirely sure we should share with the people where we finished this week.
If you're not first, you're last, right?
Yeah. I mean, we were almost last.
Yeah, we're closer to last than first, yeah. Me and Joe are in the UK, so we can't actually place our chores and lineups. It's too much collaboration, I think, maybe.
You think that's what it is?
Well, especially how Paul's doing with the other competitions, I mean, it's not a surprise.
Wow, okay. Thanks for your support. We're supposed to be a team, guys. Any shout-outs for this week? We'll cover it more in the preview, but any off the top of your head you think you might be great shouts for this week? Any maybe not necessarily your big favourite names, but anyone under the radar that might be a good pickup for Fantasy Game Day this week?
I think to talk about the Thursday game, I think you mentioned him, Laporta could be a good shout for your tight ends because he's been having some big games and tough division game. They might go to him, especially in the red zone, so I think it could be a good shout.
I'd love that could be a shout, but the game...
Oh, it's just Sundays, isn't it?
Sunday.
Good point. Oh, it's too far ahead, Paul. I haven't looked at the games.
I feel like Alvin Kamara coming back from suspension, I think, is an interesting shout. And I touched on it earlier, but Adam Thielen revenge game. Andy Dalton is targeting him. Vikings defense isn't great. I think he could be in line for a touchdown, certainly.
Relatively cheap as well, Thielen, in the prices. The prices get revealed on a Tuesday for the upcoming week, so keep your eyes peeled for that.
I've seen some of them getting revealed on Twitter earlier today.
Yeah, go and follow the guys on Fantasy Game Day. It's at @fantasy_game day on Instagram and X and Twitter. Also, go download the app and get yourself in. It's £7.50 entry fee for the Sunday game. The more people enter, the bigger the prize pot. I think everyone's going to be all over the Miami guys this week, and obviously I don't think they're going to get as much joy in Buffalo. So I think maybe fade the Miami guys and look elsewhere for your quarterback, especially. Yeah, quarterback especially. I think you might be able to get Mosa and one of the receivers in. Cool. I think that's us, gents. That's everything. It's been a bit of a mammoth episode. I think we're about an hour and 45 minutes this week.
Yeah. Didn't really touch on TNF, but with so much injury news up in the air, I think it's hard to kind of have a take really on what's gonna. I think I'd fancy the Lions if Watson, Jones, Bakhtiari aren't playing, but if they're all playing, I'd probably fancy the Packers. So.
Yeah, so we are Detroit. It's moved since we started. It's Detroit Lions now -1.5.
And it was 1.
Yeah.
I do like the Lions. I think it feels like it's there yet again. It's not really a smart, reason why. I just think like it is a Lions' time to put some things to bed, and I think this is the kind of game where they have to win if they want to be a contender in the NFC, which I think they are. So I think I do like 1.5. I think might back that for the Lions.
Yeah. We touched on Laporte. Laporte's line of receptions is 4.5. I like over on that. It's been going really well. Keep getting the ball. But yeah, I think I'm leaning Lions as well.
One of my bets, I didn't bet it. I think he was on the Hines last week. We didn't come off. But again, he's plus 400. Just Jaden Reed for an anytime touchdown. He always seems to be getting involved. And he didn't get a touchdown this week, but I think he's well placed to get one this week at, again, plus 400.
Yeah. Nice, good value, I think. Yeah, for sure. It should be a good one. I think it's going to tell us a little bit about how the NFC North is going to shake out, even though we're early in the season. Should be a good one. And of course, we've got the first London game this week. We'll talk more about that in the preview. I'll be there. I'm off to Falcons Jags. So looking forward to that one on Sunday. That's it from us. We are definitely finished now. As always, go give us a follow. Follow us on Spotify. Good Teams Win Great Teams Cover. To be notified of new episodes that drop. Follow us on YouTube, X, Instagram, at GTW_GTC, and go and get involved with Fantasy Game Day UK, our new partners, because those guys are awesome and the app's awesome, as well as the competition. Goodbye from us. We will be back with our Week 4 preview on Thursday night / Friday morning, depending when it gets uploaded. And thanks for sticking with us through this episode while we've had severe technical difficulties. We've got through it to the end. Thanks very much, and we'll see you for Week 4.
Cheers.